Probably want to talk to him, right? No, I'm not talking to him. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm innocent. Yes.
Those are your discussion. I just have a situation. That's why I kind of gotta be careful with the mics. The mics on.
Sadie's around this year, so it's her first time. Right, yeah. We had nights out or something. I mean, that's the problem. There's lots of things to do, but it gets pretty expensive. It gets you separated.
And now I moved over that side. Right.
First one, although you're also close to an exit, you might be the quickest one out of there too. Adrenaline will do amazing things.
Because he had a.
How are you? Nice.
Yeah, because it was 6:30. He said it was more of a tool. Because it's like 75 for the materials. He said about
I do like all that, so.
It feels really nice. So.
Vampire just repetition.
No, you don't have to worry about that.
Well, I'm worried about that sunlight coming in.
Make sure his prescription's up to date.
Yeah, when I see him go like this.
What the? At least you're saying.
So, you want to hear something funny?
Well, part of the Fisher, okay, part of this, you have to ask this guy. Part of that vicious animal thing is definition of use.
We've got
Because we talk alligator now, every.
Well, there was another.
Part of
You're
that,
talking about dangerous animals, right? Not vicious.
part of that.
You know what Fisher cat is? They're almost like a Wolverine.
I've never, when you left that.
They're up in Wisconsin and Michigan. Pretty.
Very funny things.
Yeah.
But don't, didn't we have,
So,
did we have a conversation? We had to use the list and say,
yeah, I mean, we were trying to use that just for some consistency, but the other thing is any animal declared to be dangerous by county board of health or in ordinance. So if we had a specific case where there was had one, then Jones could just declare that as the dangerous animal.
I didn't know that they posted it, so that's good to know. I was trying to make it more focused on how it's actually.
I know Feels like a hazing thing, I don't know. Oh, feels a little. Well, because they did that to you until you got tired and now you do it. Then maybe you can start doing it.
But I don't think that I don't think fire necessarily pushes the competition for shopping. They did that. I mean, it's okay, like, we can wait.
Yeah.
I watch it every day.
Always. Smell, that's my answer.
I don't think it was intentionally.
On tour, got home at 8.
Wait. Those two were so good together. Because my grandparents were from Montana. So you had a seminar in Montana. What was it? Getting squirrels? I mean, hunting rabbits, trapping rabbits. I mean,
I agree that if someone is
so it's
decide
similar.
that they should,
What was even?
have their day to work, and it's
They get home like
there's a
8,
private.
quarter to 9, so I've been out of town.
They went back to deer, got a deer.
That's not true.
All night long, yes, the whole night, nothing else. It was the night before. So they're raising the children. Did you guys leave the dogs over here? Because mom and dad was being down here, doing wrestling, we don't know the person.
There's been, I don't have information, but like if you're here, you know, send me that resources.
Jim Holland.
Lack of staff.
I had to check out what your said, because my husband has the same one, but it's Tim livestock, so I was like, must be trendy this year. He got one last year, too, so now he wants it. I'm just thinking it's time for another new pair. Like, I used to have lots of hair, and I had like 17 pairs, and I would like so much with my outfit. And all my glasses, we had movers, but somehow the box of glasses has never been found a year and a half ago. So I've been slowly replacing. I have a green pair too. So currently that's why I'm lacking her.
She died like
But I like it. I like
she
it.
died in July. Well, she did. Yeah, she did. And she knew, but I guess she
Robert was like something at a time.
but like Roger's never tried it. Roger knows that. Yeah, 'cause we have like an indoor outdoor now. We go inside. Yeah, so we have one of those that has. And she actually said recently that she would like dogs.
Councilor Fonseca.
I think you can get one of those hypoallergenic jobs. I'm slightly mixed up. I love dogs, but I also love dogs. I'm not going to say that person. I'm on the go all the time.
know if it's gonna be like a fee or something, but whatever it is. Do you want me to have them come up, or do you want me to tell them, or it's up to you?
I can probably go and have
Okay.
that was it, like we were at some friend's house. And
Oh, have they? I didn't know that, so, okay.
we were at some friend's house.
I didn't hear.
Dog like jumped over.
I always apply.
There was a question about the
She's like, ah, you need to touch your wash my hands. She's like, you touch your eyes. So the eyes are all red.
And I was like, I don't remember.
It's not that bad. She came to me. She used to wear it's just like a different, like, whatever. There's flip
So, are you guys
It will not cost more for them to do it.
I was gonna say, you said you're selling the South Park to your son, or your neighbor to the South, okay.
We should come in under budget.
Going to condo then, or?
Because we had $17,000 here for this project.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have a budget, but at the same time, I think some topics
Now you're trying to do all that.
Yes, Dawn, Janice.
Like I said, I'll go ahead and present it, and then
sending it out to work.
if you guys want to.
Another one. Oh, those were the ones that you, okay. Okay. Okay, thanks.
So now we don't. She said,
Yeah, that's what I was, it's Melissa just.
Really Munger, which is just a by pork chop.
Thanks, Lisa. Thanks for your time.
No problem.
I call this meeting to order of the Marshalltown City Council. We are at Marshalltown City Hall Council Chambers, 10 West State Street, February 23rd, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. If you can or are able, will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
Thank you. Can we have roll call, please?
Cahill.
Here.
Fonseca. Fonseca. Mitchell.
Here.
Nichols.
Here.
Schneider.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Yepes Gomez.
Here. Okay. Moving on to public comment. Members of the public may make comments on any item that was not on the agenda at this time. The speaker shall approach the microphone, state their name and address. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes unless a longer comment is authorized by the mayor. The speaker shall direct comments to the mayor and the council as a whole. The mayor and council may provide a response to a public comment, but shall not engage in discussion or debate on items raised by members of the public. No action may be taken on items raised in public comments to comply with open meetings laws. And with that, the floor is yours.
Jolene Ballard, 610 North 2nd Avenue.
Hello?
Oh.
We can hear you in the chambers now. Thank you.
I wanted to thank Mr. Harris for the very enlightening article on how TIF is being used in this town. It was quite eye-opening. I wonder what happened to the $13 million that were bonded for our streets. Is it still there, waiting to be used for something else?
Hello?
I've lived in my house for 32 years. I've had my street resurfaced once. My second thing is, I thought we had a hiring freeze. We just hired a new assistant city engineer. I kind of get tired of being told one thing and you do something else. We're paying attention out there. You spent money on a water plaza that went from a splash pad to a water plaza right next to the aquatic center, which is probably going to take money away from the aquatic center. You have the fancy State Street out here.
Hello?
With separate sidewalks, bike lanes, plantings, less parking, and I can tell difficult in snow removal, all for 6 blocks with 9 or 10 businesses and government buildings. To me, that was a total waste of money. And when it comes to TIF, if we're not in the TIF district, which is most of Marshalltown where the blue-collar people live, we are getting left out, and we are tired of it. I wish you would pay attention to us once. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Is it okay if I wear my hat since my hair's being crazy? Cool, thanks. Sorry. All right. Mayor and Council, my name is Lane Peary, 20 East State Street. I understand the decision to continue the flock contract has already been made, and I'm not here to revisit that vote. What I want to speak to tonight is the policy and governance side of things going forward. I have faith in MPD, and I want to develop that into trust, which comes through continued transparency and dialogue. When the city funds surveillance-related technology, residents deserve plain language rules and regular reporting, how long data is kept, who can access it, what the limits are, and how often the system actually helps investigations. Those expectations shouldn't live only inside internal policies. They should be public and easy to understand. Clear public rules reduce confusion for officers and reduce complaints from residents. It's better for both. There's also increasing discussion locally and across the state about how license plate reader systems should be overseen. I'm not predicting where that goes, but it seems like a good moment for Marshalltown to get ahead of the curve by putting some governance and transparency pieces in place now rather than responding later under pressure. I am asking for concise quarterly metrics, headlines, not a white paper, such as total queries, confirmed hits, cases aided, and cross-agency requests granted or denied. Good governance is proactive. If the city is funding this system, then the city should also define the rules for how it will operate and how the public will stay informed over time. If it's helpful, staff could bring back options for a simple public-facing use policy and a quarterly report format within 60 or 90 days or at the next practical work session. Thank you.
You.
Good evening. Linda Holvik, 2908 West Lincoln Way, Marshalltown. I attended the first council meeting that you dealt specifically with the budget, and I understand the difficult decisions that you all face, and your really serious and thoughtful look at all of the items that were brought up by the city administrator and the department heads I just appreciated that so much, and I went home thinking, that it's really, really hard what you have to do. As funding for the library will be considered here in the future, I would like you to consider the value of the library to our entire community and just keep that top of your mind. The library provides so much more than an excellent collection of books and other resources, and the staff works tirelessly and creatively to meet the needs of the wide variety of people in our area. And the Marshalltown Public Library is an irreplaceable treasure and should be fully funded. Thank you.
Lee Botter, 401 Orchard Drive. As much as I appreciate Joanne's comments, I do want to address as the splash pad, a majority of that, when it is now Water Plaza, a majority of that's coming from donations that are specific to that project. So yes, there is some city money going into it, but a big chunk of it came from that. That's the reason it's called the Abgar Splash Pad. And Tom did donate a substantial amount of money there. The reason I'm here today, though, is I want to talk about UP, Union Pacific, going through. Coming from home, I work on the southeast side of town, and we frequently see heavy train traffic. Get the words out here, I apologize. So I guess the question I'd like to pose is there any discussions going on about during peak times, being in the morning or in the evening, to address that we don't have trains stopping on some of the things? When we start getting to the point where we're having to go over 1 or 2 viaducts, it's going to get insane. Right now, sometimes I have backups of 5 blocks just to get over the third slice 6th Street viaduct. So I would like to encourage that with our city leaders here. Please have some discussion addressing extreme train traffic over those time periods. Thank you.
Good evening. Chris Jones, Chief of Police. I'd like to invite the council, the general public, and city staff to an event that we have for our Impact Night. It's going to be on Thursday at Tannen, 125 East Main Street. It's going to start at 5 o'clock and run until 7. There's going to be a presentation around 5:30, and Sheriff Phillips and I are going to be there to answer some questions. We'll talk about statistics and everything that involves our impact program. I just wanted to extend an invitation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Anyone else?
Ray Mitchum, 1402 South 3rd Avenue. And I was just kind of prompted a little bit ago about the library. And I think a lot of you know that I was a public school teacher for almost 40 years in science. And so I've been familiar with our library ever since I was even a child, because we used to come from our farm into the library when it was up here on State Street. So I have a lot of high regard for the library. And I think I can consider myself always a friend of the library. And I think what Linda mentioned, the The finances are always in need. And it just prompted me, some of you know that with my science students, I would encourage them to come to the library and try to find data from all angles. And certainly one angle is the conservative angle, like the Epic Times. Even though the Epic Times is very neutral, it does bend toward the conservative side. And I was just looking at an issue back in January of 2023, and I just happened to see that it had an article about climate change and how there was one scientist who thought that carbon dioxide didn't have anything to do with what it is being pushed. And I thought that was such a strong reason for my science students, because back then they were trying to research climate change. And you can imagine that a good teacher should encourage students to do research from all angles. And this is just a tremendous example that this issue had a whole article about the debate about what CO2 had to do with climate change. And so this is what I've been pushing, and even though the library is even tighter now on funds, I've been bringing the Epic Times to the library every week for quite a while. And this is my way of trying to help the library and help the public in having a free publication, and you don't have to pay any more money for a subscription. So I just want to encourage you to keep that in mind when it comes to the library, and for some reason, the library not wanting the Epic Times for adults to read. Does that sound reasonable, to keep a paper away from an adult that would like to read it and maybe only read it once and say, hey, that's not for me? But there are some adults, and of course high school students, would love to use that as some research data. So I just want to encourage you to keep that in mind when it comes to the library and what we're trying to do in the Epic Times being a part of the library. Thank you.
Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? Okay. Moving on to mayor, council, and administrator comments. Does anyone have any comments here?
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes, you may.
as you all know, we are in budget planning time, getting ready to finalize things. So I been doing some extra research past 2 weeks. I did my own poll at the library. 9 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning would be the first week. It was 10 people. The next hour there was 10 people. Now I started doing it today at 9 o'clock. There was 6 people. At 10 o'clock there was 6 people. I did do some more research and on budgeting, and as y'all can see, there's probably 3 papers running around there. I did put these up here. It has to do with everybody needs to tighten their budget, and that doesn't mean just city. That means in our families, in our businesses, we all need to come and tighten our budget. So feel free to look at this, and it is from the Epic Times. There's all kinds of good stuff in there that I didn't even know existed, and this is just one of them. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I have nothing either. Moving on to years of service. Chief Cross.
Thank you, Your Honor, and Council. My name is Christopher Cross. I'm the Fire Chief. I'd like to invite Captain Nathan White to join me at the podium, please. I have 2 employees to speak about tonight. First employee is Jacob Patterson. We are going to celebrate his 5th year of service with the fire department. Jacob had a conflict that popped up short term imminent to the meeting, and he was unable to attend. So we would, I told him we'd talk about him behind his back. So that's pretty cool. Jacob Patterson is a relatively young guy. He's been with us 5 years, and it seems ridiculous to even consider that he's been on the job that long. Jacob comes from a great family. He's from Gilman. He actually is the fire chief for the city of Gilman in his off time, does volunteer work to protect his community. His mother was involved in search and rescue in the county, and he comes from a long line of public service and giving back to his fellow people, and that's commendable. And it seems to be the kind of the common thread through all of us who have chosen a life of public service and public safety. As we move on to Captain Nathan White, come on up here. So we're celebrating Nathan's 20th year with the fire department, and Nathan hasn't only been involved in public service through the fire department. He's a veteran as well. He was a first sergeant when he retired from the National Guard. He's been deployed, and he's done things to support the nation overseas and both stateside. So Nathan was a firefighter when I first came to the fire department. We've been able to see him promote through the rank of lieutenant, and now as a shift commander. We value Nathan as a part of the leadership team, and he's an impact player for us, and we're very happy that he's on our team. And so congratulations, Captain White. And we'll hear your speech now. Oh, one more thing before we turn the microphone over to Captain White. Nathan's wife, Kayla, is here in the back, and we'd like to give her a round of applause, because behind every successful member of the fire department is the member's family pushing them forward and lifting us up so that we can go do our job. So thank you, Kayla, for putting up with him and allowing him to do what he does, and we're all better for it. So, you want to speak?
I don't have much to thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the city. Go Team USA. Another decade left.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Should we get a picture?
Yeah, hold your,
You're upside down?
yeah, you gotta hold.
Just kidding.
Pretend like you like each other.
Thank you. Why are you going to make it this back? Because I love you, man.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. I'm removing item number 7 for an explanation from the city clerk. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Move to approve, Your Honor.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, moving back to resolution under item 7.
Resolution adopting supplement S13 to the Code of Ordinances to the City of Marshalltown, Iowa through Ordinance 15113.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Would you like to speak to this?
Yes. So the Iowa Code requires that the city maintains a code of ordinances by compiling at least annually a supplement to the code. So that includes any new ordinances or amendments to ordinances that have been passed and become effective within the previous year. You must adopt the supplement by resolution. So the city does these updates usually about quarterly. So this was for the last supplement we did, which includes ordinances 15108 through 15113.
Anyone have any questions? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yeah.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Okay, moving on to item G, resolutions.
We have a resolution setting a public hearing for proposed property tax levy for the fiscal year 27 budget.
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I believe we have Diana coming up.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. So all you're doing tonight is setting the public hearing for March 23rd, a special meeting at 5 o'clock. This will be the only item on the agenda. So after the discussion at the last meeting, we are publishing the rate at $16.25 per thousand. This is going up from $16, primarily from the transit raising from 40 cents to 65 cents in order to purchase buses. Any questions?
Yes.
Can I verify the time at 5 p.m.? So
5
prior
p.m.
to the council meeting that
Yes.
night? Thank you.
Any questions from the public? Roll call, please.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca.
Yes.
Okay, moving on to discussion items. Number 1, revised city ordinance, chapter 90, animals.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, Kyle Stevenson, Captain, Marshalltown PD. I've got the privilege of coming up here and talking about Chapter 90 Animal Ordinance. Lieutenant Hillers mentioned earlier, that I get to do some of the fun stuff, but now I'm dealing more with animals than SWAT. So we put together a committee to review Chapter 90. There was some specific things that we look for, and basically I want to give you just a quick rundown of some of the changes we made. And then I just want to preface this by saying that we're open to ideas from council. We're open to feedback. There was consensus on certain items. There was enough of consensus to put things in here to get a general draft moving forward, but there are some changes. So I'm going to outline those real quick. Structurally, we changed the code slightly, just organization-wise. We expanded some of the definitions. So you'll notice there's significantly more definitions to kind of clear up some things in there. We added some animal care standards that makes it easier for investigating like neglect type cases for animals. One of the things that we did add in there was a microchipping requirement. One of the issues that we deal with from the PD side specifically, and the ARL could speak to this too, is being able to identify pet owners. We're trying to quickly return them back to home. It drains resources from the ARL, who already struggles with some of that. So that's one of the reasons, is that this would help us identify pet owners and be able to return them more quickly. We did add some language in for TNR program, basically just acknowledging that we run a TNR program when it comes to feral cats.
You might tell everyone what TNR means.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So trap, neuter, return. This is something that is currently going on. We're aware that it's going on, but this just puts it into city ordinance that we're essentially authorizing it. It's not bringing the city into being involved with it, but it's allowing community organizations to do that. And it sets some parameters for that program to try to help limit the feral cat population. I don't think we really changed anything, but as far as significance, but still dealing with not allowing dog breeding in town and setting household limits. I think those have remained the same, though. One of the things that I think could be very beneficial for us is we added a section for irresponsible pet owners. This allows us to have other recourses for people who violate the animal ordinance multiple times in a 12-month period. It allows for some other things, including a prohibition on owning pets in the community for a minimum of 24 months. And then it would require them to be reinstated by the city to allow them to own pets. What we find, ARL could probably speak to this too, but the major problems tend to be a small number of people. It's like my job, it's the small number of people that ruin it for everybody else. And what we get here is we get a handful of people that create issue after issue for us. So this allows us another recourse to deal with that. Animal at large, I don't think there was major changes there, other than the second offense. We looked at doing a second offense would automatically require microchipping and sterilization of an animal. So if they had already been convicted once, if the dog was found at large again, that would allow us to take those steps. And then a third offense would be a forfeiture of the animal. We did clean up some language in rabies with help of Dr. Jacobson, who was on the committee. So we looked at the rabies definition, and we're also working with Marshall County Public Health on reporting things to them to try to work together on those things. And I don't think there really anything changed for vicious animals, dangerous animals. Those remain similar. We might have cleaned up some language in that. And then we added a specific section that deals with appealing any decisions that are made and also dealing with the penalties too. So we kind of separated those out. And a lot of the stuff that I was looking for from my side was just clear language so that it's easy to know what you can and can't do. And from us on an enforcement side, it cleans up some of that stuff. And then clearing up the appeal process, because a lot of the things that we do, we'll serve an order to somebody. I'll use vicious dog for an example. So if a dog's declared vicious, we will serve them with an order, and then there's certain timelines and criteria. We just kind of cleaned all that up so it's very clear on what the owner needs to do, what we need to do, and it sets timelines for that whole process. Any questions at all?
Anyone have any questions?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
I was on this committee as the council representative, and I learned a lot. There was a lot of work. Kyle, Alicia, Austin, and his wife, and from the Animal Rescue League, Carol. There was a lot of work put into this, and there was a lot of compromises. And we needed Zach there at a couple of meetings for the de-escalation.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So, which we had earlier, but you guys don't know about. But there's Dr. Jake, and Dr. Jacobson was there. Glad you could make it. So, but it was good because there were some legal parameters where we think, personally, we may think there's just some common sense things, and finding out that the state has some language that we have to abide by. And I just want to tell people I was proud to be on this committee, even though I didn't do anything. Everybody did all the heavy lifting. But we think we came up with something that at least for the police and for you as neighbors to people that have problem pets, the biggest thing that I feel good about is the microchipping. If this passes, if this goes forward and passes, it's reuniting the pets with their owners, because collars come off, tags and different things like that. And then the biggest thing for me is, besides that, is just clearing up language so the police now have a better understanding of what they can and cannot enforce, and it makes it easier. Like Kyle said, there were so many incidences where their hands were tied. And so, but like Kyle said, we want questions, because there's some things we might have missed, probably did, but we can also explain where we came to some of these conclusions. So hopefully it's a good thing moving forward. So thank you.
I will note on the microchipping thing too, we originally got a microchip reader, and the ARL has since donated multiple more, so we have them in most cars. So this is a lot simpler process. We could find a dog, identify the owner on scene, and possibly return it. You know, it saves us time running out to the ARL. It saves them time coming into us, and it just cuts down some of that red tape that we go through. So we do have the capability of actually doing those in-house now, which is kind of nice.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can I ask, is the microchipping at this point is still voluntary by owners? Is that correct? Unless they've had an issue with their dog, and on the second time they would get microchipped. Is that what I understood?
No, we put a microchipping element in there that would be a requirement for the animals. I think it's over a certain age by 6 months. Yeah. So we did throw that in there as a suggestion. But again, some of these are ideas of things that we can do. We're open to suggestions, but right now it would be a requirement. I'll also say, when we look at these things from the PD side, we're looking at enforcement and extra work and things like that. We would not have any intent of proactively enforcing these things. This would be, I would say this would be similar to rabies vaccination. If the dog has an issue, has a bite case or it's found at large, and then we found it wasn't, and it was in violation of this, that's where you would see the enforcement. I'd be less likely to you call and say, hey, I don't think my neighbor's dog's registered. we're probably not going to try. We're going to try to avoid that kind of stuff so that we don't overburden our officers that are on the street that should be doing other things. But it does give us another out, and again, especially for some of the irresponsible owners or dogs that are involved in bite cases that we have trouble identifying.
Can I ask a follow-up?
Yes.
Thank you. I just don't have any idea, and it may be Dr. Jacobson that knows, what is the cost of microchipping?
They vary, I'd say on average, 35-ish.
So yeah, $35 on average. I know the ARL is looking at a program too to give free, right? Free, you're giving the vouchers for. So I'm not telling you that everybody in town is going to get those, but they are working on a system if we went this route that we could possibly get some of these items donated or vouchers, things like that. So we'd be looking at programs like that, and we might even be able to use that as like an educational piece in the early stages of this.
Your Honor, if I may?
Yes.
Now, the microchip, what all does it do? Does it just read the dog's address, the owner, or does it GPS them?
No, yeah, all it does is provides information on the owner, and it's a little bit of a process. It's not like you scan it and that information comes up. What they do is they register it with like I think national, you can correct me if I'm wrong, sometimes regional, but there's a database that collects the information, and depending on the microchip company itself, there are multiple out there, is my understanding, but it will provide a number. You find out where that correlates to, and then you can call them directly 24 hours a day, and they can provide that information.
Anything from the public?
I tend to yell into these things. I'll try not to do that today. Austin Gillis, Executive Director, Animal Rescue League. I was also a part of the Animal Task Force. And to looking at these ordinances, I first want to say thank you to the city, the council members that were involved, and also MPD for taking the time to sit down and listen to some of the concerns that the animal advocates, animal welfare people have had out there. Some of these ordinances were long overdue to be updated. And I can tell you honestly, maybe some of you are more familiar with it than I am, but here recently, especially this last session, I've been at the Capitol a lot working with the new animal torture bill and the abandonment bill, and I can tell you from experience already that you're never going to pass a law or a bill that is going to satisfy everybody. But what we can do is take our combined experiences and try to find out what that best pathway to a joint effort that we can. I know that a lot of time. Actually, I have to say that the captain has spoken very well as far as information, as far as the microchips and everything else go. I have to stop accusing him of never listening to me. The process is actually really simple. It's just it's a little poke in between the shoulder blades, and then a microchip scanner will scan. It'll give you a code, and then you can enter that code into different manufacturers' databases, and then it'll come up and say your law enforcement will give you that person's information, or you're just a random citizen who found this dog. We will notify the dog's owners or cats. It happens with them as well. But these work everywhere you go. One of the things that we had a guy was traveling through over-the-road trucker, and he was here camping out. Dog got away from him, but he had to continue on with his load. Couldn't find the dog. We found the dog. We contacted him. He was in Texas, and he was actually on his way to California. He picked up a load to come back through Iowa like a few days later and was able to get reunited with his animal. Prior to microchipping, there's no way that animal would have ever seen his owner again. So it's actually a really good thing. But I do just wanted to say thank you. Like I had mentioned, No bill's going to be perfect. We don't know what we don't know. We can iron the wrinkles as we come across them, but I think that this is a very good step in the right direction. And I did just want to say, again, thank you, and that the ARL supports everything that's been put forward so far. So that's everything I got, unless anybody had any specific questions that I could help with.
Any questions?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from the public?
Mayor and council, my name is Lane Peary, 20 East State Street. This is going to be a bit of a lot, but I'm not asking you to do everything at once. I'm just offering a short menu of options, and even adopting one or two would make Chapter 90 fairer, easier to enforce, and better for public safety and animal welfare. First, on the proposed irresponsible owner designation, 3 violations within 12 months is a long window, and it can sweep in otherwise responsible dog families during one rough stretch. If there's a mistake with a sitter while you're on vacation, an elderly person helping with walks, or a gate just gets left open. If there are multiple dogs, one event can also count more than once, and since removal is the steepest consequence, I'd ask that you either shorten the window or add safeguards so one cluster of mistakes doesn't trigger a forfeiture. A practical approach might be a 2 in 9 months corrective trigger with a 3 in 12 designation only after mitigation is considered and when multiple dogs are involved in a single documented event. Count it as one incident for designation purposes to keep things proportional. In that same spirit of prevention, if a household reaches 2 infractions, please consider a city-fronted training and behavior plan that includes payment plans or hardship waivers so cost is not the barrier. The city could pre-qualify multiple local trainers at a uniform capped rate, recover costs on a reasonable plan, and verify completion, so we fix the behavior before a 3rd citation. The goal isn't how do we remove vicious dogs, but how do we train dogs so they don't get labeled as vicious. Second, on identification and capacity, any animal released from MPD or the ARL should leave with a microchip, especially cats, because many are indoor-outdoor, and chips make reunification and complaint-based enforcement straightforward. Veterinarians should be empowered to offer a chip at routine visits when a pet lacks one, with owner consent and with a simple city waiver available if needed. Any document checks by the city would follow a lawful process. A small chip cost now is far cheaper than repeated pickups, boarding, or euthanasia later. For outdoor and feral cats, please recognize trap, neuter, return as a public good with a modest, capped per procedure reimbursement, quarterly outcome metrics, and a 12-month sunset review. Where legally permissible, allow TNR eligibility for unchipped, unsterilized, unclaimed cats after reasonable efforts to find an owner. This protects ARL capacity during kitten season and improves outcomes without prolonging holds. Third, on clarity and capability, please define provocation clearly. There is a difference between an unprovoked attack and a dog reacting to a trespass, being startled, or defending a child. And consider re-enabling complaint-based limits or registration as tools that don't require door-to-door enforcement. Microchips and vet records accessed with consent or lawful process make verification practical when a grievance arises. Finally, a dedicated animal control officer working alongside the ARL would make enforcement safer and more consistent. Structure it through an interlocal or service contract model and equip the role with non-lethal standard animal control tools, no firearm needed. I'm asking staff to return with tiered options, light, medium, and robust in each of these areas so you can choose what fits right now and phase in more after a 12-month review. Thank you.
You.
I just want to address the comments about the shortened window. In my opinion, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but from what I know in the time I've been dealing with animals is that 3 violations at a 12-month period would be, I mean, some of the worst people that I can think of that I've dealt with would barely get into 3 convictions in a 12-month period. I think this is adequate. I also think that I would be game. I'd have to look at the ordinance for sure and see what could be appealed, but I believe that could be appealed, and I think that's where we could catch this honest mistake from a family, you know, having the example is having a house sitter or something like that that makes a mistake. I totally agree with that, and I think that we should evaluate those differently, but I think that mostly this would cover just like the true problems. I think it'd be a pretty big stretch to just have a series of mistakes and get three convictions under this code section. That's my opinion. Thanks.
Bill, what would council like to do?
May I say one more thing?
Yes.
Just want to touch on the other things. We did leave it open for later on for a animal warden, you know, but again, Right now, it's not in the budget. So I don't want to downplay everything you said, Lane, but everything you did say, it was like you were listening into the committee during the meetings, because we did touch upon those. And like Captain Stevenson said, we made it so the police have, in cooperation with Austin at the Animal Rescue League, or just the Animal Rescue League, there's a lot of leeway to understand the situations that occurred, and even that with the provocation too. So there's some stuff we made specific, some things we made not specific, just to protect both sides. So I think without changing anything, I think we have the tools in place. And then again, as we go on a few months, you know, we'll see what's working. We'll get feedback. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
So, yes.
Grant Jacobson, 2666 Reed Avenue, Marshalltown. Veterinarian working or owning Hometown Veterinarian here in Marshalltown. I was part of the committee. Just some of the things I guess I wanted to point out. A lot of discussion was had regarding feral cats, trap, neuter, release, that type of thing. We did not work that into any obligations the city might have. We took the approach of creating definitions. So those definitions can be left there and in place, and so should the council decide, hey, we want to try some kind of program, you aren't then coming back and have to create a lot of definitions, because a lot of things nobody would ever think about. We tried to tackle as well like ownership issues, because, you know, we say, as it is right now, there can be a colony of feral cats. Who owns those cats? Does a person get cited as they would now because a group of feral cats lived next to them and they felt bad for them and wanted to feed them, versus cases where your own cat is being a nuisance or your own dog is being a nuisance? So what we really try to do is create definitions that could be workable, and then potentially allow future, should the city decide to take a course that way. But feral cats were addressed as more of creating definition. So, and I guess any questions that were of me?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So do I hear a motion?
Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to direct city staff to bring this as ordinance resolutions.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Questions or comments? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Yes.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
Yes.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to pet registration program.
Thank you, Your Honor. So staff is seeking feedback on whether council is interested in implementing a pet registration program, and if so, would you support using a third-party vendor to do that? The Animal Control Committee did talk about this. We did not recommend doing a pet registration program, and instead recommending the mandatory microchipping. A lot of what pet registration programs do is improve how you identify a pet and returning the pet to the owner, which microchipping does do that as well. A few other things that pet registration programs do: one is encouraging compliance with rabies vaccination requirements. You typically have to have your pet vaccinated in order to get it licensed in a community, and then it does provide a revenue stream to support animal services costs. We do pay, our officers to respond to these kind of calls, and we also pay the Animal Rescue League for their services as well. So I included in the materials a chart showing our peer cities and a couple of other cities in our region. Most of them do require pet licensing. Most of them, the exceptions were were Burlington and Ames, although Ames is talking about requiring pet registration. Fort Dodge, Ottumwa, Muscatine, Mason City, and Clinton all require dog licensing, and all of those require cat licensing except Ottumwa. The annual cost typically for altered pet ranges anywhere from $5 to $15 for an annual license. And then most of the cities required a higher fee for licensing an unaltered pet, anywhere from $10 all the way up to $50 for that license. So this is not out of line with what other cities our size and in this area require. It does take a lot of care and feeding, though, to do a program like this. So that's why vendors offer this service, basically, and they take care. They usually have a portal of some type where you can go online and register your pet. They manage all of the finances of pet registration. They usually send automated renewal notices and reminders to license your pet. And they provide customer service support. They also usually provide reports and data to the community on their pet registration program. They do take then a portion of the fee to recoup their costs, the registration fee to recoup their costs for providing those services. So the question for council is, are you interested in pursuing this? And if so, would you support having a third party do it?
Okay.
Your Honor, I'll go first, as I spoke up about this when we talked about this the first time. I think we should go through with this. I kind of like the Muscatine model, $10, $25, 50% discount for seniors. So I think I'd like to see city staff come back, look at some vendors, and let's see what the costs are, because we do need a way to backfill some of the cost with our contract with the ARL and other animal services.
So, Your Honor?
Go ahead.
So my question would be, based on these fees, how much work is it going to be for staff? Even with a third-party vendor, how much load is it going to be, what we get for revenue from it? This just seemed like a lot of work for not very much.
Sure, I could reach out to a couple of cities and find out how many hours their staff dedicate to this. Initially, it's a lot of work to get the program started and to get the service up and running. I think after that initial point, the load on staff is quite a bit diminished. After that, that's the whole point of having the service. So, but I could probably get more exact hours.
If you could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Is that something that the veterinarians could do when they get vaccine?
Some cities do. They are offered by the veterinarians to do that, and I'm sure Dr. Jameson probably has an opinion on that. But some of them do. Some of them have them licensed at the ARL. You can get them licensed at the ARL. Some of them are only online. The Muscatine model is only online, so you have to go online to register your pet. You can't register it at City Hall. It has to be done online. So different cities do it in different ways.
May I?
Yes.
This is one we discussed in the committee, and our position was reuniting the pets with the owners. That's what licensing would do and microchipping would do. So if we move forward with requiring microchipping, it's going to be $35 unless Austin can work a miracle and get 20,000 vouchers. But anyway, this is one, I was for this to begin with, but I backed away from it. I think if we move forward with the ordinance change as it is, we're putting a $35 burden on pet owners. This is probably something that needs to be investigated, in my opinion, needs to be investigated and looked at maybe later if we continue to have a problem. I don't think we need to do both at the same time, so that's where I'm at with this one.
Your Honor, can I ask and I know I just don't have the papers in front of me, when we looked at our budgeting and we did say that there would be some revenue from a registration program, can you remember what the number was that we were hoping to gain through a registration
Yeah, I think
program?
I said initially I thought maybe $10,000. It's not a lot of money. And that assumes a certain compliance rate. I think there's a ramp-up period to get people to initially even register their pets. So, you may not see as much income in the first year as people kind of get used to this idea of needing to register your pet. So you might see more revenue in the later years, but I think initially it might be fairly low. But it would be something to offset these costs.
And do we have, and I'm not sure who to direct this to, but what is an estimation of our annual cost to the Animal Rescue League for what we contract for their services?
Yeah, I actually pulled up that contract while you were talking. It's about $90,000 a year. Am I right? Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know that the PD has a necessarily vested interest either way. We would be supportive of this. One thing the ARL is working on right now is a local database so that they would have like the ID tags too if we did have a microchip reader. But as we're talking about doing this or not, there are other creative ways. We could waive registration fees in those early years, like get the microchip done, which is already going to be part of the code, and we waive your fee this first year. I mean, I think there's ways that you could go so that it's not overly burdensome on year one. And I think you could do something like that. But having that information, for us, it's the ease of getting dogs back to owners so that we're not paying to feed them at the ARL and reducing some of those costs and burdens. So, again, I would also say this would be similar to what I talked about earlier with the enforcement is we're not going to be looking to proactively enforce this. So if the expectation would be is that we're going to pass this and we want the PD to go proactively enforce it, I don't think that's very reasonable for us, but it does give us another out for problem dogs, or when we find dogs out, that's where you would see the enforcement side come, is that it would be another citation for having an unregistered dog. That's kind of my take on it. Thanks.
Your Honor? So, Kyle, question. Isn't it a little bit redundant? So what's the difference between licensing and the microchipping? I mean, what does one give you that the other does not?
I think the licensing is more complete package in my opinion. So licensing, you'd have to prove that rabies vaccination and you would be microchipped the same. So if we were going to go this route, I think we would probably want to evaluate the overall ordinance and see how we want to bring it together. So maybe this is just me speaking, maybe you guys have a different opinion, but maybe we eliminate the microchipping and it's all part of that. It's all combined into that one subsection within here. So yeah, I don't know that you need two separate things necessarily, but then again, it's really no different than rabies control either. You have a rabies control section too, and this would kind of touch on that too.
Yeah, I think requiring both of them is probably a little overly burdensome. I did see one city, and I don't remember which one it was, that offered a discounted rate for a microchipped pet for licensing. So you could incentivize microchipping that way too.
Yeah, but we could evaluate the whole thing. Like I said, if we go this route, it could change some things. We might evaluate the whole system too. I don't know.
Danielle Leakin, 1310 West Main Street, just here as a citizen. As a parent of a young child, to me, the animal registration makes more sense because we're ensuring that the animals are being kept healthy. And then if my child gets bit by a dog, it's less likely it's more likely that dog has had its proper vaccinations. So from my perspective, yes, the microchip is a great thing, but this program ensures that the animals are being kept healthy and getting adequate veterinary care, and that's an investment in public safety from my perspective.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
If we're looking at a way for a revenue stream to recoup some money to offset what we're paying the ARL for housing stray dogs, we could very easily put a $5 fee on the microchipping, on top of what the cost of microchipping is. Now, to address your question, young lady, is right now it's the ARL or the vets that are microchipping animals. And as far as I know, either Austin or Grant would have to come up here. They're not microchipping a dog that doesn't have a rabies vaccination. Is this correct, guys? the problem with licenses, once again, it's a tag on a collar. And a dog gets loose, gets caught in a fence, you know, you're not supposed to have the collar so tight that it can't pull over their head. So, you know, again, it doesn't do us any good if they don't have the license on the animal. So again, that's why we went with the microchip side. But again, if it's just a revenue stream, we want to replace, you know, offset our costs, we don't need to do both. We can just tack on a $3, $5 fee to the microchipping. So, thank you.
Your Honor?
Yes.
Gary, your point of, I mean, the microchip is like a serial number on the dog. I mean, we could easily associate that with the license. I don't know exactly how the programs work, but I'm pretty sure that the licensing includes the microchip number, doesn't it?
I would assume, yeah, if I may. So most of the platforms that I've seen when they do the registration, it basically takes all of those different platforms or different manufacturers of microchips, and it'll put it all in one central database so that somebody like Miss Webb could pull it up and say, well, we know that this dog belongs to John Doe on XY Street. Instead of us out on the street, or when the police officers pick one up, we just get that code itself. But a lot of times when they do that registration, it's just a matter of what you want to put in there. If you put in there that you're required to do the chicken dance before you get your microchip inserted, then that's something that you could put in there as a rule. So it's really just, for me, it's simple. If you want to put on there that the microchip number is your ID number, it's a very long number, but it would work really well. And then just speaking objectively, when we were talking about staffing and time and how much extra there would be, one of the biggest things that we've seen as a negative with these registration platforms is enforcement, because they're not going to come out and say, well, you know, John Smith at XY Street hasn't registered their dog this year. They're not the ones that are going to be calling and finding out, well, was the dog deceased? Or are they just ignoring the ordinance and now the police have to go out and knock on doors like we were talking about, maybe not necessarily being proactive, going after them, but it's just, that's when the boots on the ground, that's when the staffing and the time and the extra expenses kind of come in. So I'm not trying to sway one way or the other. That's just one of the things that we've seen. Any other?
Okay. What's our flavor here? Oh, go ahead.
Grant Jacobson again. Yeah, the comment, what can the vets do it? Like I was like, I don't want it. No, you know, I guess we discussed this registration during the committee as well. My perspective is in a few directions there. One is, you know, what is the purpose of it? Is we're looking as a revenue stream to take care of the problems that come about for the people that have the problem animals. I'm going to say those are going to be the people that aren't going to bother to register their animals. So those that are following the rules are the ones paying for those that aren't. My perspective, I don't think the veterinarian should be the one in charge of placing that, because there's a lot of, I don't know, a lot of fears people get in their minds thinking that like we as the veterinarian are like going to stick them with something, you know, in terms of, you know, hey, I'm going to cite them for this or that, or like that's not within any power. And so, you know, there's animals that don't get care because people have a misconception that, you know, they go to the vet and they're going to get reported. No, we don't do that, and we don't really have the ability to do that. But if we start carrying some of the responsibility as the city to be the source of the dog license, I could see that being a problem. And, you know, it's just something that to say I can probably speak for all of them that we're not going to want that. Further clarifying microchips, I mean, each microchip is a unique identifying number. There's a lot of things in registries that I have to do for varying purposes. Nearly all of those registries require a microchip in place because there are cheaters. A microchip in place is a unique number. You can't say remove it easily from one animal and put it into another. As much as I'd like to think that I can recognize every dog I see, this golden retriever coming by and the next one and the next one and the next one, they are all unique, but boy, they look pretty similar. I don't know, you know, one from the other, but you put a microchip in there, there is no doubt of what that animal is. So I think that, again, I would say is your best way to identify the unique animal. And if the ultimate goal is we want to make sure we know who that animal is in any given situation, that's the way to do it. Conceivably, a person could have, 3 black lab retrievers, register one of them, and, claim whatever one you had was registered by whoever you happen to see running loose on a given day. A microchip is permanent, it's in there, and it's unique for that animal. So I would say I'm definitely more in, if we are moving towards a way of registering and knowing, or at least identifying animals, I'm most in favor of the microchip because once it's in there, and it is unique. Question?
What do we want to do here? No, we don't.
Your Honor,
Yes.
with the pet registration, is that just a one-time registration fee, one and done? Or will they need to go in there annually?
It typically runs with the vaccination, so I think some
Okay.
cities offer like a 1-year and then a 3-year license or a registration.
Okay.
Typically, it's annually.
Okay, and then for the microchipping, so for the providers here in Marshall County, would it be the ARL who can do it? Who all can provide the service of microchipping in our communities or surrounding?
I believe the ARL or veterinarians can do that.
Okay, so then I think, so we're debating whether to have the pet registration completed or offered, or part of what pet owners need to do with their pets, and also deciding whether microchipping should be required for all animals, right? I would lean towards more of the microchipping, requiring all pet owners to microchip their animals, just because that seems like with the vets and the pet community out there that's what's needed. I want to know what you guys think on that.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Melissa, I think we decided in the last ordinance that the microchipping is required, so I think that's kind of a separate issue from this. What I'd like to do is make a motion that we proceed with Muscatine's model and staff bring back recommendations. I agree with Dr. Jacobson, this should not be on the vets. I think it should be on this third-party voluntary program, but then also, if your animal is at large, there is some penalty. I think there's some enforcement provisions that we could build into this. And then, given this information, take another look at the ordinance that we're going to be seeing 3 times and making sure it's compatible.
Okay. I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? No second? Motion died.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to make the motion, we just move forward with the microchipping for a while and see how the new code or the new ordinance works, and then make a decision at a later date.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Point of order, we already just moved, as Councilman Schneider said, that we already just moved that forward in the last vote. It's part of Chapter 90 that microchipping is required. I mean, did I miss something in your motion?
Basically, I'm just saying, on this topic, I'm saying no. So we're going to wait and see, and if it needs to be brought back, we can bring it back.
Okay. Do I have a
I
second?
misunderstood, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Can I get
Mitch?
clarification?
Yes.
So it's basically, Counselor Nichols, it's basically saying do nothing. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay,
Do
all right.
nothing. Let this ordinance that we just passed work
Okay,
forward, and if
gotcha.
we see a problem, then we can move.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
So this is just a discussion item, so this doesn't fall into the rules of bringing back a failed resolution. So we really don't need to pass anything. And so I'm asking for a point of order here, that we can always bring this back any time, because all this was a discussion tonight.
Yeah, I don't think we need direction on don't do this. I think the fact that the motion to do it failed satisfies the need, yeah.
Moving on then, discussion item number 3, 2004 West Olive Street.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Heather Thomas, Public Works. An item in front of you this evening is related to a piece of property at the intersection of Olive Street and Campbell Drive. We were approached by a property owner and their attorneys as they were working through some survey in this area. This property is looking to split some of their property and sell, and that's what necessitated a survey for them. In doing so, they identified that the map which the county controls had an inside curve, which is the black line in this location, showing the right-of-way. Through research, nobody was able to determine that that curvature was legally recorded as the street right-of-way. There's some additional information and background in your memos as far as some of the surveys and the timing, but it appears that sometime when this area was brought into the city limits, there was a subdivision created in 1967, and that surveyor believed the road went straight into a 90-degree corner as opposed to the bend. The aerials from back in 1930 confirmed that this road did curve at that time, so it's probably just an issue with that 1967 survey. So at this time, we were requested to address this issue. The surveyor recommended making this corner a triangle as opposed to a curve, just from platting purposes. We've gone through, and at this time, we're requesting authorization from City Council for purchase of this triangular area in the amount of $1,200, and I'm happy to open it up for questions. We also have the property owners here with us this evening.
Any questions?
I make a motion that we proceed.
Second.
Staff bring this back as a resolution.
Approving the purchase.
Yes, approving $1 less than $1,200. No, just kidding. $1,200.
Have a motion and a second. Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Okay. Alleyway improvements.
Good evening, Heather Thomas, Public Works. This item in front of you is two items that I've kind of combined into one related to downtown alleys in the proximity of the area that is under construction right now with the East Main Street project. The first one came about as we were contacted by Marshall County. They are in the process and have obtained quotes to redo some of their parking area east of the courthouse. So the area that they plan to redo is the area outlined in blue with some yellow squiggles, and they own both sides of the alley there. One of the problems with downtown, especially in areas of expansive paved areas, anytime somebody improves paved surfaces, drainage becomes an issue when you butt up against other properties. So they reached out to the city to see if the city would be willing to address and do some improvements to our alley at the same time. There are obviously other properties in the vicinity as well that prevents doing a lot of overlay. The county is recommending a 2-inch overlay in their parking lot as opposed to a complete mill and bringing it back to the existing surface elevation. They want to raise the height of their alley, of their pavement. And the reason for that is because they're concerned the thickness of the existing asphalt wouldn't support them milling it down far enough and bringing it back to the current grade. So they've asked the city if we would participate. We've looked into a couple different things. We did have a recent sanitary sewer project in the area where we were unable to line the east-west sanitary sewer. We went in there and did some additional investigation. It's not an imminent project that needs to be addressed, but we're not able to line it because of the clay taps that are in that line. You can't get the lining machine through, and it's in such a condition that we're not able to robotically remove those taps. However, This sewer has been working for decades, so it's not an issue that we have to go in right now, open cut and dig that up. So for a while, we were looking at potentially not doing anything in this alley, but we're feeling a little bit more comfortable by doing some surface work in this alley because that's not an immediate issue with a sanitary sewer. And so with that, the costs will vary depending on what we're able to do. One of the biggest hiccups is going to be the private utilities that are in this alley. They all have an access point like a handhole or a manhole. And to do this improvement, it would require raising the elevation of those, and working with some of these utility companies is very challenging at times. So we don't know. We've been reaching out to some of those utility companies to engage their willingness to work at raising the height of their handholds or manholes, and haven't had great success, but we are still working through. So with this, if we're able to work through those issues, we just like council direction if it's okay to go ahead and take contingency funds from the East Main Street project to put towards some of the work in this area. We're estimating somewhere in the cost of about $13,000 if we're able to. And again, it's within our purchasing limits as city staff itself, but since we're allocating money from bond funds, we just wanted council authorization to do that if we're able to work through those details with the private utility companies.
Any questions for Heather?
Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes.
Heather, for me, from some feedback I've already gotten, this is a publicity nightmare because we are now telling and again, it's not a lot of money in the big scheme of things, but we are telling the taxpayers that this alley is more important than their street. We're doing this alley first. So I guess my question would be, if you weren't taking it from the bond funds and you have the discretion to spend this money, where would it come from?
Road use tax is an eligible use for alley, or alley improvements are eligible use for road use tax funds, so that would be the most reasonable funding source.
So if the council tonight doesn't give you direction to reallocate the bond funds, that's how you'd still do this and proceed with that, correct?
No, I would take council's input. So if council's input is to say, hey, let's not participate in this project with Marshall County, that's okay. They have to adjust their project to accommodate the drainage issues that they may create from raising their alley, and we would not proceed with this. That's why we brought it forward. I'm here to do what the council directs.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I think we'd be foolish not to take the opportunity when this is happening to fix this problem. So I'd like to make a motion to direct staff to use bond funds to fix this alley.
Second.
Your Honor,
Yes.
we're going to have people really upset with the decision if that's the way we go, because everybody you talk to says we need the roads fixed. So I think we should just put the money towards our roads and let this ride. If the county wants to do it, let the county do it. Not only that, but there's businesses there that the water may go back up on their parking lots.
Do I have a second to the motion?
Yes, Fonseca seconded it.
Thank you. Other comments? Anything from the public?
Jolene Ballard, 610 North 2nd Avenue. Really? Really, you're going to add more on and not fix our streets? When does it stop?
Yes.
So Heather, could we direct you to use the road use tax fund to do this project?
Yes, you can.
I'd like to make an amendment, if I could.
Okay.
I'd like to move that we use the road use tax fund to move forward with this project.
Do I have a second on that? Do I have a second? Died. Do we have any other questions or comments on the motion, the original motion and second? Roll call, please.
Nichols?
Yes.
Schneider?
Yes.
Thompson?
No.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
No.
Okay.
All right, second part of this discussion item. This item was not initiated by the Arts and Culture Alliance. This was something that I brought up myself, but I did want to address. As the Arts and Culture Alliance has been working on the alley, which will be called The Lane, they are in the process of working with an artist to identify what that is. I did walk this alley and take a look at a couple areas, and then we also looked at a land survey as far as what is owned by the city and what is owned by those private property owners. And you'll see along this alley, it kind of looks like the alley edge is, 3 to 4 feet off of the building in this area, and the area between the edge of the moderate alley asphalt and the building is in pretty rough shape. If we are going to be promoting this as a pedestrian alley with potential for planters or benches or anything else in that area, that could become a trip hazard if we're promoting pedestrians walking in that exact location and recreating in that area. So with that, I did also get a quote from the same contractor that the county is using on that asphalt project at the parking lots and estimate roughly $6,700 to $7,000. Again, same thing. We could use the same unallocated bond money from the East Main Street contingency for this work, and just looking for direction from City Council whether or not you'd like us to go ahead and try to touch up these edges along this alley at that same time.
Okay. Who wants first bite? Who wants first bite on this? You spoke up. Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think it's important to remember that these alleys and the fact that we're using some monies that were for the other, from the bonding from the other street projects. Am I in the right? I'm okay to be, I didn't do a motion, I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to do a motion.
Okay. That I do think we need to remember that these alleys, especially in the downtown area, are used at a much higher rate than alleys behind residential properties. So in some cases, I do feel that this is part of our downtown infrastructure and could work with the other street repairs that we have in the downtown areas. I understand where we're thinking about what we're spending our money on, but I view these alleys, especially these two, as part of our downtown infrastructure that we got the bonding for. So I would be in favor of doing both of this project as well as the other one.
Did you mention a cost?
About $6,700 was the estimate, so $7,000 for rough numbers, yeah.
Your Honor, I think Sue stated it nicely. These are heavily used. I think almost everybody in town would use the downtown alleys. While we are making our downtown nicer, more attractive, we need to fix these alleys. I don't think this is a very expensive project. I'll make the motion to proceed using bond funds.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Anything from the public? Roll call, please.
Thompson?
Nope.
Yepes Gomez?
Yes.
Cahill?
Yes.
Fonseca?
Yes.
Mitchell?
Obviously, your money tree is bigger than the one I have in my backpack. No.
Nichols?
No.
Schneider?
Yes.
Going forward, the answer is yes or no, Mark. Thank you. Special revenue funds.
Diana Steiner, Finance Director. Alicia, can you pull up the memo, the last page of the memo? So special revenues are restricted for a particular purpose. So we have taxes, automated traffic enforcement, grants, donations, etc. So I just kind of wanted to go over some of these funds tonight. Yeah. So you have the budget comparison reports that I've handed out before. So let's kind of go through the cash balances on these, what we expect them to be. Can you make it a little larger? So the first one we're going to start out with is the tax increment financing. So last November, I brought this to you to do the certification of taxes. So for fiscal year 27, we have 11 different development agreements in the range of $1.3 million. We transferred to the bond fund to bring down the debt levy for projects for that. So that was $272,000. And then the rest is made up of the facade, code upgrades and security grants, agreements with the chamber and MCBD, some city administrative time, and some legal expenses. So you can see we have quite a big balance there. Next time we go around for the certification next November, then we'll probably lower the amount for the facade and code grant because it's getting a pretty big balance. The next one is TIF LMI. So this is TIF LMI means low to moderate income. So for the Glenwood project, the city gets 40.83% of the increment. So for example, if it's around 99,000, Glenwood gets 60 and the city will get 39. And we can use that on any LMI project throughout the city. It doesn't have to be in the Glenwood TIF area. The next one is Fund 130, the city tort liability. This shows the funds received from insurance companies and our estimated amount of related repairs. Funds 132 and 133 are our grants. So that includes the CDBG Dracho Tree Grant, the Brownfield Grant, the HCI grant, which was a developer for 30 units, and an IDOT and traffic signal grant. Fund 139, the Pleasant Hill Pool Foundation. This is new this year. We set it up to keep it separate. The city pays for the operating costs to maintain the Pleasant Hill pool and then are reimbursed. Fund 140 is the Park Recreation Donation Fund. So in here includes donations for benches, equipment, etc. that we normally get. And then we also have the fundraising activity for the Lynn Creek District project. Funds 141 through 44, tennis, softball, and Live Healthy are programs we operate and then are reimbursed for. Funds 150 through 152, the PD grants. These are such as drug enforcement, violence against women, bulletproof vests, and justice assistance grant. So depending on the time of the reimbursement, it may be the following year, fiscal year before we get reimbursed. So if there's negative balances, not to be concerned. Fund 184 is the automated traffic enforcement. These are funds received from speeding tickets, which are budgeted at a revenue of $240,000. Of this, the vendors paid $35 for every ticket collected. So we're budgeting that at $112,000. The Axon body cameras for $183,000 are budgeted as an expense. Funds 153, 155, and 170 are other grants and donations for the police, fire, and library. So the Friends of the Library and other donors are budgeted to pay for the audio-visual equipment and the interior remodel of the library, as well as ongoing donations for hotspots, books, etc. Funds 160 and 161 relate to economic development. So budgeted in here is $20,000 for CO2 systems. They are to create a minimum of 48 full-time equivalent jobs in Marshalltown by March of 27, with a starting wage of at least $22.50 an hour and health insurance. Fund 177 seized assets are from crimes or abandonment. 10% is turned over to the county and 10% to state. The remainder can be used for equipment purchases, training, etc. And the funds with 180 are for the housing grants. They relate to Section 8. It has over $1.6 million in federal revenue. And the lead grant, which is $2.4 million in annual revenue. So the Section 8 grant, we get the money the first of the month, and then we can pay our bills. The lead grant is just the opposite. We spend the money and then have to request reimbursement, so that's why they have a negative balance. These are our special revenues funds. Any questions?
Questions? You don't need an action on that, it's just a report. Okay, you want to move on to capital improvement plan?
So included in council's packet is a report called the Sources and Uses of Funds Report that has a listing of all of our planned capital projects from 2026 to 2030. This is a very important report. It shows for the different funds that we pay for the capital improvements out of what the beginning balance is of that fund, and then as we spend the dollars down over the years, what our projected ending balance is. If the public is interested in knowing what projects we're putting bond funds towards, or road use tax, or local option sales tax, or any of our funds, they can look at this report, which is in the packet for council. So if you've reviewed the report, it has a lot of information about for what fund, what projects we have planned to use that particular fund for. Overall, I would say that the CIP prioritizes street and bridge reconstruction and maintenance. There are a lot of street projects included in the capital plan. Public safety equipment and vehicles, parks, recreation, and trails. We've got quite a few facility maintenance and building improvement types of projects. We've got airport infrastructure improvements, and then we've got some technology and equipment replacement. So this is a draft. If you have questions about particular projects that are in the plan, we've got department directors here that can answer some of those questions. If you have questions about fund balances, Diana can answer some of those, but we're open to any questions you might have on the capital plan. It will come back to you for formal approval, so this is a draft of the plan, so we would be happy to take any of your input.
Does anyone have any questions at this time?
Your Honor,
Yes.
could we talk about what plans there are for the roads and the streets in this capital improvement plan, and just kind of have a rundown of what the community would expect on that?
Yeah, we have, so if you look at the road use tax fund and then some of the bond funds, those have quite a few capital improvement projects in those. If you want to hear more about the details of each project, I'd defer to Heather on those, but you can see the types of projects that are being funded with these particular funding sources. They're projects that council is generally familiar with. The East Main Street, we've got street improvement plans like the patching, street rehab, those kinds of things as part of the program as well.
And then there's also streets and bond funds.
Yes. You have questions about a particular project, Councilmember Fonseca?
No, I just wanted to get more information on, I mean, I know we have all the projects there, but is there, just from the other comments that were made by other council members, and just wanted to let the public know that there are funds going towards the streets and towards the roads, and that's not being left out at all in this capital improvement plan.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Can I bring up one other thing? Okay. So since we are trying to use the oldest bonds first, we did add a couple projects that if you allow us to use bond funds for these projects, we'll bring forth a resolution in the near future. One of them is aquatic center improvements for $221,000, and Kiwanis Park improvements for $13,000, and the library parking lot and garbage enclosure for about $33,000. So our oldest bond is coming up on 5 years, so we really need to get it spent. So these are shovel-ready, so to speak, that we can use the money right away within the next 6 months and get it spent. So we would like to do that.
That sound reasonable? Counselors?
Question for Diana? What was that bond, what did we tell the public that bond was originally going to be used for in the public hearing?
Well, street improvements, patching East Main Street. It's still being used for that. We're just trying to get rid of the old stuff first. We're just shifting it to another bond, those street projects, so we can get it spent.
But this bond that you want to use, you're asking us to allocate this bond for the library's parking lot and their trash receptacle container. We originally told the public we were going to repair streets with it. Did I hear that right?
Basically.
Okay, thank you.
Some of these projects, though, came in under, the projects were completed, but they came in under budget or a priority shifted, so it's not that the project didn't get completed. It's that there were additional dollars that were available to allocate.
Your Honor.
Yes.
I guess I would like to follow up on what Councilor Fonseca said. And I'm looking at on page 15 of this when it's talking about street improvement program. Is that the main area that I am looking at for what streets are going to be worked on in the coming year, or what year they're being done, being completed in? Or if I'm misreading that, I guess what I might ask is, can we get for the public a grid line, a timeline showing what streets and what we are going to use the road use funds for, what areas are going to be improved in what kind of a timeline? I understand that's what most of the capital improvements do, that in 27 we're going to do this, in 28 we're going to do this. And is there a way to be clearer to our community as to what is the plan going forward for the street repairs that we promised?
Yeah, I don't know, Heather, if you want to come forward. This is something that Heather's been working on for what I would call like a pavement management program that would talk more about how streets are scheduled, what their order of priority is for rehab or reconstruction. So Heather's been working on that. I'll let her speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, so this report in front of you is not the most easy to read and pull that information from. In the past, we had put together a department specific, and projects were organized by department. And so this report is organized by funding source. So that means the street improvement projects that are listed in this are spread out through all 25 pages as opposed to lump into a single location. But within that other report that lumps them by projects, there's a specific project called the Pavement Management Plan. And we went out for selection. We issued an RFP in December. And are working through those final details with a consultant right now to then take some of these dollar amounts and split that out further to a plan that would be street specific, as opposed to larger, broader headlines like $2 million for residential rehab. It's then taking that and splitting that down another couple to streets and years on that. So with that, there's not enough funding for what that recommendation is going to come back from that pavement management plan. And so you'll be seeing some of that work come later this year.
Thank you. I think that is something that we have, I think those who were up for election this year, we promised to people that we would be very transparent on what streets, what would be done for the roads in our community. And I think that would be a great thing to have and to be able to point to specifically that, yes, this street's in tier 3 and it's going to be done 3 years from now or whatever it may be. But I do think that's a very important report and I appreciate you working on it.
Your Honor, if may?
Yes.
Heather, are you using the survey that Iowa State gave us roughly 12 years ago on which streets are going to be done first, or how is that being done?
Yeah, so we've never received any type of survey from Iowa State talking about what streets are going to be done when. The information that we receive from Iowa State is through the Iowa Pavement Management Program. It's done depending on a timeline. Right now it's every 6 years. We get information which is called the Pavement Condition Index, or the PCI values of different streets. It is just a rating of existing streets. It does not prioritize streets. So what we're doing is we're taking that information from the PCI data and coupling that with construction costs in today's measures, looking at the curve at which streets deteriorate, a deterioration curve, and then taking those dollars and running different scenarios. Say if you spend $3 million a year in these buckets, how do we look at best utilizing and bringing the curve, the PCI ratings of Marshalltown streets up, or maintaining them and seeing what happens. So it evaluates and kind of does an if-then statement, so to speak, of if you spend this much, this is where it would prioritize your money to do the best good. So it's trying to use data-driven decisions to prioritize which streets are going to be picked. And that obviously is then combined with information we receive through our work with Marshalltown Waterworks and other infrastructure projects as well, to understand that sometimes our streets that are being worked on are not necessarily because they're the worst streets, but maybe there is some other factors in play, like prioritizing some of the downtown work brought those streets up at a higher priority than maybe what would have done and been prioritized just on the condition of the surface itself.
What kind of timeline did you say that's going to be? You think you're going to get that?
We're hoping at the August, September as kind of having an outline plan.
Yes.
Lee Botter, 401 Orchard Drive. In a recent past, I was president of an HOA association in Wisconsin, and we used the model from here to do what we call the capital maintenance plan versus the capital improvement plan. I love what you guys have done here, but I like the fact that Councilor Cahill, Fonseca has said we need more detail on this. A suggestion I would like to make is it's work for city staff here, but if you can go out, keep it simple, servant, not the other word, okay, keep it simple, servant, but go out and list out your different streets. So there's, if Councilor Thompson gets a call, or Mitchell gets a call, or Councilor Nichols, any of these guys gets calls, they can go out and say, okay, it's on this part of the city website. This is your street. This is where it falls within the next 5 years, or whatever the case may be. And it can be a map system, it can be whatever. If we could have the TR support that and get that information out there to the public, I think you're going to have some happier people, and you're going to also have more utilization of the city website. They go out there, hey, yeah, my street's coming up, and oh, by the way, here's the information about pets, and oh, by the way, here's the information about this and X, Y, and Z. And I'm just trying to think of ways how to drive traffic there, but also help these counselors up here on when does this happen? When are we looking at our streets getting done? So thank you for your time.
Anything else?
Could we have direction on the aquatic center and library for using bond funds for that? And the Kiwanis Park.
I'd make a motion that since the original bonds were for streets, that money be used for streets.
I second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Schneider,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yepes Gomez,
Yes.
Cahill,
Yes.
Fonseca,
Yes.
Mitchell,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Not having any further business, meeting adjourned at 7:10.
Gene Arnold, Gloria.